What's going on, y'all? Welcome back once again to the Pound for Pound Boxing channel. I'm your boy, Mac. With new boxing stars on the rise and Turki Al-Sheikh coming into the picture and giving us some incredible fights, I gotta ask y'all, what is the worst upset or even the worst loss in the past 2 years? As usual, I will be handing this over to my co-host. Now, let's talk boxing.
Welcome back to the Pound for Pound Boxing channel. My name's Eric.
And I'm Alex.
And today we will be breaking down the top 5 worst losses in the past 2 years. I would like to start off this list with a guy from MMA with zero boxing experience who took on the heavyweight champion and in many people's hearts won. And we, of course, are talking about
Fury and Ngannou.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I think we all know that Fury didn't take this fight serious. I'm sure this guy just thought he was going to, eat some donuts on the couch one day and wake up and somehow beat Ngannou.
He probably thought it would be like a Wilder thing, probably even worse, just because he was an MMA fighter, but clearly he underestimated him.
I mean, I think the only thing that really helped Ngannou clearly wasn't the boxing skill, because he doesn't have boxing skill, but he does have power. And even if you're an MMA fighter, if you get caught with one lucky punch, that could change the whole story.
Exactly. And he had Mike Tyson in his corner probably telling him what to do.
But apart from that, it wasn't just the punching power. I really did admire the fact that he wasn't throwing wild punches. For the most part, it seemed like he was just on defense most of the time, being careful with Fury's jabs. But Ngannou did surprise me, you know what I mean? He showed that he had heart. He showed he could go the full distance against Tyson Fury, who was considered the best heavyweight of the era at the time. Of course, that's not what we think now.
Yeah, exactly. And then for the second, I believe it would be Tim Tszyu in Backroom just as last weekend. It was a bad loss. I was surprised on the way Tim Tszyu lost.
Yeah, man. I mean, to think of Tim Tszyu, we all love the fact that he's willing to fight the best.
Yeah, exactly.
When he became a champion, he stated that he'd fight anybody. He called out Jermell Charlo, Terrence Crawford, Virgil Ortiz. Anybody could get it. And I really did admire that.
Yeah.
But the fact that this guy took a hard loss, first to Fundura, and then he came back and fought this guy who's a giant. And he got dominated and unfortunately got dropped 4 times.
Yeah, he's going to have to rebuild bad. But I feel like the way he lost, it was just incredibly surprising, But we do need more guys like Tim Tszyu in boxing. Those guys make the fights happen, the big fights happen.
And one thing I could say before we end that one is that we shouldn't hit a man while he's down.
Exactly.
We shouldn't stop watching his fights. We shouldn't say he's a trash fighter because he showed heart. To lose like he did against Fundura with a cut and come back and fight a good competitor who's almost 6 feet tall, it takes some balls. So the fact that Tim Tszyu does that, we got to give him nothing but respect and keep cheering him on for him to keep continuing to fight the best people out there.
I agree.
So number 3 on the list would be
AJ and Dubois.
Man, again, another recent fight. AJ Dubois was a fight where many thought that AJ's experience would play a factor, and I think we all agreed there. But Dubois showed a set of heart,
Yeah, and I felt like so everyone thought AJ was going to win, right? He's the one with the experience. He's the older guy. But everyone knows when a boxer reaches 34 years old, look at Ali, you drastically change from when you're 28, 27, 29, And the way he lost, it was very shocking.
Yeah, I think AJ, he had that game plan of let me just outbox this dude. But when it comes to a guy that just keeps coming forward, we saw him do this against Ergovich where he ate his best shots, the best right hands Ergovich had to throw, and kept coming forward. He keeps throwing punches. He's there with the gas tank. And I think AJ never recovered from the first knockdown. It seemed like ever since that first knockdown, he just couldn't handle the pressure. He had a good poker face because he made it seem like he wasn't hurt. But deep down inside, we all knew what was going to happen.
Now, that fight reminded me of George Foreman versus Joe Frazier, where they wouldn't call the fight for AJ, right? Because he was A-side. They didn't want him to lose. Same thing with
Joe Frazier.
Joe Frazier, he got knocked down 6 times, and they wouldn't call it just because he was the A-side.
And the ref clearly was trying to, help AJ out. He didn't count some of the knockdowns. He was trying to give him a longer weight count. But the fact that, AJ got risky, he landed a good right shot and came into that. And, that's where he messed up because you shouldn't be throwing an uppercut from a distance without putting a jab in front of that.
Yeah.
So that was just something on his corner that they're going to have to reflect on. And I hope AJ could get back, because he's another fighter that's willing to fight the best.
Yeah, exactly.
At number 2, we have Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia.
Wow, that was really shocking. Everyone, a 9-1 underdog like Ryan Garcia to beat him. That was the Ali versus Sonny listing. No one thought Ryan had a chance, especially looking bad in his
Previous
his
performance.
previous performance, he looked very bad.
You know, the fact that everybody, you know, even me including, we'd all judge Ryan because of the dumb things he was posting on Instagram, and he was acting like a lunatic and going crazy. You know, apart from that, Devin Haney was an undisputed, you know, champion at 135. So we knew Devin Haney had the skill over Ryan Garcia. We knew he had the better IQ, the better jab. The only thing he lacked was power.
And the way he looked against Regis, everyone thought like that
He was going to come in and just dominate,
exactly.
you know.
And even drop Ryan.
But the fact that I think, you know, Devin Haney, they have a history in the amateurs. They've sparred a couple times. And it seemed like Ryan would always get the best because he knew that Devin Haney's chin wasn't the best. And, of course, if you could hurt a guy in the amateurs with headgear and, you know, 16, 14-ounce gloves on, what makes you think with 8 ounces in the professionals isn't going to change?
Like you weren't going to get hurt.
So the fact that, you know, Devin Haney was this champion, the undisputed champion, and Ryan Garcia came off one of the worst defeats of his career, losing to Tank Davis, and a lot of people criticize him for quitting. The fact that he came and dominated the way he did. Now, of course, there was allegations of steroid use, the 3 pounds that he missed in the weigh-in, but nonetheless, it still shocked the world. And till this day, I think that in this year is the biggest shock in the world.
Yeah, and for number one, I would have to say Spence versus Crawford. That one was a shocking one, especially in that second round. I was surprised on the way Spence got manhandled the way he did.
Yeah, man. When you're talking about putting a whooping on somebody, I think that's the best display. You know, everybody thought it was going to be a 50-50 fight. You know, these guys were both good champions. Errol Spence had a better resume than Crawford at the time. And, you know, Errol Spence was that guy at 147.
Exactly.
The way that Crawford came in so confident, you know, and parried all of Errol Spence's shots, you know, it just shows you how great Crawford is. This guy dropped him with almost every shot he landed.
And what made me gave Spence a chance, because I was always leaning towards Crawford, but the way how Tank, his opinion on the fight, he said it was like a riot shield coming towards Crawford. You know, he could throw everything at a riot shield, but it wouldn't do anything. And the way he just dispatched Spence was shocking.
One thing I can't say is I like that no matter what Spence got hit with, no matter how many times he got dropped, he never gave up. And I think that's where the heart comes and plays a factor, because he still, I think, outthrew Crawford. He threw more shots than Crawford. You know, he was throwing shots everywhere, and he did land some good punches, to give him some credit.
I agree.
But it's just, you know, Crawford's defense, he holds it so tight where he keeps his gloves right here.
And he parries. And
he has such a long distance, and he has such long arm length. You know, it's hard to land a shot inside of his gloves.
Exactly.
But the fact that Crawford came in there, you know, super confident and just manhandled this guy, that speaks volumes. And honestly, I got to say that was the best win of Crawford's career, possibly the best win of last year. You know, it was a great fight. I love the fact that how the buildup was. You know, everybody was rooting for this guy or that guy. And the way it ended, man, that sent shivers down of everyone's spine that's around Crawford's division, because they know now how great he is. And to top that off, what would you guys say was the worst loss or underdog story in the past 2 years? Would you guys agree with us? Let us know down in the comments below. Thank you guys again for tuning in. My name's Eric.
And I'm Alex.
And I'm your boy, Mac. Thank you guys once again for tuning into the Pound for Pound Boxing channel. As usual, leave a like, share, and subscribe, and we're out.